Hello again, and welcome back to the Farming Flowers podcast. This podcast is actually going to be a two-parter, but we're going to do the first part now, and then we're going to come back at the end of the season, and we're going to check back in, and we're going to do the second part. So you'll have something to look forward to at the end of the summer. So this is Charisse from Bend Blooms, and she joined the collective a few months back. And so I checked in with her recently, and she sent me back the most interesting email. So she gave me the rundown of what she's encountered. She's a first-year flower farmer. And I immediately said, oh my gosh, we have to do a podcast about this. So I know there are so many of us in our first year that experience probably everything that Charisse has been experiencing. And so I thought it would be really fun to sort of just track her and check in now, and then we'll check in later and we'll kind of get a progress report and see how things have changed. So welcome to the podcast, Charisse, and thank you for agreeing to be my guinea pig on this little experiment here. But I think it'll be really interesting. I think, and even, people that have been farming flowers for a long time. I mean, we all experience what you're experiencing still, even as experienced farmers. So it'll be, I think, something people can commiserate with you. So.
Yep, I have all the problems.
Yes, you do. Well, let's kind of just kick it off with, we're looking at this beautiful picture of the mountains here. And so I think probably the best place to start is just the beginning. What made you decide to farm flowers? Did you already have your farm and you decided to just grow flowers, or did you decide to grow flowers and then you found a farm? So kind of just give us the foundation of where you started.
Sure. I did have the farm before I started flower farming. This is my year one, as you said, but I used to live in Portland and I moved to Bend about 4 years ago now, and we decided that we wanted to live in farmland, but I didn't know what I wanted to do with my land yet. So I have 20 acres. 17 acres of that is irrigated. So that picture is like from my backyard. All that green space is what we have planted right now with the big long wheel lines. And then there's a bunch of horses behind me, and I got horses next to me and alpacas on the other side and cows on the other corner.
Wow.
So yeah, we're out in the farmland, and I have always grown a really large garden, vegetables. And when I was trying to decide what to do with our land, I actually initially thought I wanted to maybe do like a little nursery. I love growing plants when they're little baby seedlings. Yeah. And so I kind of had that idea in my mind. And then I was with all of this space because it's a lot. And we've been farming it with, we've planted hay, teff, oats, winter wheat, just various hay style crops. And then I have one section that's on the side, kind of the back side of my house, and it used to be a horse dry lot. So it didn't have any water there. And I decided to put my garden there, which I did, and I fenced it in to keep the deer out. Yep. It's a pretty large garden. So I've been growing that for 3 or 4 years, and I knew I wanted to do something more. So I don't really know how I came into flowers. I kind of fell into it, I guess. I had a friend who started flower farming. She lives 3 properties down from me. And then after she started, I was like, oh, what an interesting idea. I've never thought about doing flowers instead of like vegetables, because vegetables have been my thing. Yeah. And then I just kind of started researching, and I got really into it, and I just decided to go for it last year. So I now am using the horse dry lot as my flower plot, which is like probably about 3/4 of an acre, but I don't have it all planted. I have 25 50 by 4-foot rows, and then I have one really long 150-foot row, which is like, I call it my perennial row, which is on the side of it. And I rerouted the water and the irrigation, so now that entire space is irrigated, which is why I have so many problems, because now I get to see what grows when you water it.
Oh, yes.
it was kind of it was a tumbleweed field for the most part, but it wasn't that bad. It wasn't as bad as it is. So yep, I'll get back to that. But yeah, I'm growing on, it's 4,400 square feet for the irrigated space that I have planted.
Okay. And that's a big space, really. That's, I mean, that lets you try a lot of different things, which we all have to do. So then I
decided I was just going to go 110%
Why not?
for my first year.
Go big or go home.
So, exactly.
Well, how did you decide what flowers you wanted to grow? You have a pretty extensive list of things that you're growing, and you're doing almost everything from seed yourself, right?
Yes.
Oh my gosh.
That's my favorite part, though.
Okay.
I don't regret that part because I absolutely love growing the seedlings. And it's about 12,000 plants, and I grew them all in my garage.
Wow. Amazing.
I don't have a greenhouse.
Amazing.
In soil blocks.
Wow.
So soil blocking was new for me this year, and that's, once I found soil blocking, which was like a year and a half ago, I was like, this is amazing. I hate plastic. This is such a good way to grow a lot in a really little space and not use a bunch of, single-use plastic products.
Right.
And so, yeah, I did all my plants in these little itty-bitty soil blocks.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah. As far as what I decided to grow, I kind of spent the winter making a giant crop plan. And I really tried to choose things that would kind of bloom continuously. Tried, in theory.
Right.
It's not quite working out exactly as I thought it would in the plan.
Yeah.
And a lot of them are cool hardy annuals, like probably 60% of them.
Okay.
I would say, because it's so cool in our summers. That's what I thought would work best.
Yeah.
So I chose a lot of those. I chose some perennials, and then I'm doing some summer annuals, and I tried to match the colors. I tried to say like, oh, maybe this blue will bloom at the same time as this blue lace flower, and so I can put them in a bouquet together. Yeah. I really tried to think through all of that, but I don't know if that plan is gonna exactly work out. And I originally thought I was gonna be making market style bouquets. So I also planted a lot of things that are better for market style bouquets. That florists probably don't necessarily love. I'm not sure about that, but that was my original plan, and I was going to be selling a lot of those bouquets at a farm stand that I was going to share with my neighbor who's growing the flowers. And she hasn't quite built the farm stand yet, so I don't know if that plan is going to pan out this summer.
Maybe not this year.
Maybe, yeah. But I have lots of ideas for the future, and I'm quickly learning that a lot of those ideas probably won't happen this year in year one.
Yeah, that's probably a good thing to really embrace that, because we do get so excited and we want all the infrastructure and we want all the things and we want to do all the things the first year. And I mean, that happens to pretty much all of us. And so it's probably a good lesson if you can learn that now, to just sort of step back and look at the overall big picture and realize it's what is that saying, that it's a marathon, it's not a sprint. And so, take the pressure off of yourself the first year and try to just dial in what you can grow. Did you do anything as far as like online courses, or were there books or things that you really gravitated to help you with this when you were in the planning section?
Yes, that's really how I got started.
Okay.
I'm a big book reader.
Yeah.
I have a very large stack next to me at my desk, actually.
Me too.
And I joined the Lisa Mason Ziegler. Is it Ziegler or Ziegler? I might be saying that wrong, but I joined her Flower Farmer Club. And so that was kind of the first thing that I started, because she is the queen of cool flowers. And that is a totally new concept. That was a new concept to me. That was another reason I decided I wanted to start flower farming. Once I learned how many flowers can tolerate the cold, I pivoted from vegetables, because I was like, this is going to be so much better in our cold climate here. So I took her course. Right now I'm taking the Floret flower arranging course, which is so awesome.
Yes.
Let's see, what are my books here that I like? I I also started with Lynn Basinski's The Flower Farmer.
Oh, yeah.
I think that's kind of a
That's
classic.
a classic for sure.
I have, Lenny Larkin's Flower Farming for Profit. Lisa Mason Ziegler's Cut Flower Handbook was probably the most beneficial book that I have read.
Yeah.
Because she has so many specific details. I'm a really big detail nerd about temperatures and spacing, and I like to follow rules, so she kind of lays them all out for you, which is awesome.
Yeah, absolutely. That is that's incredibly helpful, and it's interesting that so many people, I don't know if Lisa Mason Ziegler comes first or the flower farming comes first and people find her, but I think she has certainly inspired a lot of people to try, even because she's in a fairly small space inside a city, and so if she can farm flowers, I think that's probably really inspirational for a lot of other people just to at least give it a try. So
yeah,
yeah,
absolutely. I found her on Instagram. I mean, there's a number of flower farmers that inspired me on Instagram.
Yeah.
There's another one, Blossom and Branch.
Oh yeah, she's
Farm
awesome
in Colorado. Yeah, and she lives in kind of a similar climate to us.
Right.
And she's the one who I saw soil blocking on her Instagram. It popped up in my feed, and I was like, "Oh, this is amazing!" Because I just had never heard of it. I didn't know it existed before that.
Did you have trouble learning to do the soil blocks? Some people love them, some people hate them. It's definitely a.
I am a huge fan.
Yeah.
Huge fan. I didn't have any trouble, but I did follow a lot of advice from people who have already tested it.
Yeah.
Like Blossom and Branch has a couple different recipes on her YouTube, and I tried all of them. I tried Lisa Mason Ziegler's recipe. I tried my own recipes. I just experimented with all of them and found what worked best. The biggest challenge, though, I will say, at least for me here with soil blocking, is trying to harden off my plants. Because those little itty bitty soil blocks, I use a 3/4 inch for almost all of them.
That's what I do.
They get so dry. It takes 2 or 3 hours outside when I'm hardening them off, and they are just little crisp nuggets because it's always windy. 10% humidity outside.
If we're lucky, even 10% is high sometimes. Sometimes we're barely 2 or 3% humidity.
Right? Yeah. But I loved it. I thought it was such an easy way to grow 12,000 plants. I have 4, I have, I guess 5, if I count the 2 in my office. I have 5 shelves. I have little plants stashed everywhere in grow lights. But I did them all on those 5 shelves.
That's amazing. That is amazing. I want to flip through some of the pictures here, and I thought maybe you could kind of walk us through maybe how you're laying things out, and then we'll kind of look at some of your rows and stuff.
This is my this is where my flower field is.
Okay.
This is not what it looked like at first. It had a ton of different tumbleweeds. I probably, in retrospect, should have named myself something with tumbleweeds, because there is an excessive amount of tumbleweeds.
It's not too late.
Sprouting and everywhere. But this is after I cleared all the tumbleweeds out, and then we tilled it, which was one of my mistakes. But there was just so many roots. I felt like I had to till it, and I am super for the no-till concept, but I had to do it once. So I did it once, and so that picture was when it was all smooth and flattened, and that was in the fall, and then we planted a cover crop after that. This is just a picture of my soil, which you can kind of tell what kind of soil I'm dealing with here. It's 83% sand, 12% silt, and 5% clay. So it's a lot of sand.
And ash,
which is common.
We have a lot of ash apparently that is in most of our soil, which we really can barely even call this soil. It's moon dust. You basically have to build your own soil and make it happen. It's not.
I think that picture is dirt, not soil. I think there's a big difference between dirt and soil.
Yep, I think you are right. Well, so then, so you're broad forking, and so you started by tilling, and then cover crop, and then when you started laying out beds in the spring or in the fall after?
In the spring. So I did a winter cover crop, which I let kind of grow. It didn't grow as good as I wanted in April. I thought it was going to wake up in April. It was really cold in April.
We were cold.
Which usually, because I've cover cropped in the field, and it usually grows bigger than that by April. But so I had the cover crop there, which was supposed to starve out the weeds, and grow vigorously. And then I had seen that the weeds were actually starting to sprout before the cover crop, which was really disappointing.
Yeah.
So I ended up silage tarping. So I got a giant silage tarp, and I had the great idea of cutting it into 50-foot rows. So I cut it into the shape of the rows, hoping that the cover crop in between my rows would grow, and I could use it as natural mulch and cut it down once it grew. So that was the strategy, which didn't happen. But I put all the silage tarps on there, and then I broad forked. I amended it, which I didn't really need to amend that much. The soil, shockingly, in my soils test, said I had pretty good nutrients. Which there is a little bit of a story with that maybe I should tell, because I first tested my soil in the fall, and it came back and it said I had outrageous salt levels. And I was like, oh my gosh, like nothing is going to grow here. This is going to be insane. It was like as high as it could go on the chart for the salts. So I called the OSU Extension office to get a consultation with someone that works there about how to amend my soil. And I said, I have this idea. And I was like, I tested this during drought season. It was in September. I was like, is it possible that my salts are really, really high because it hadn't rained and I'm not irrigating the space? And the OSU Extension guy was like, oh, no. No, that's not it. These soil tests are always off. You can't trust them. He's like, I don't think you should do anything to your soil, and you should just plant in it, and then you should amend based on what your plants look like. And I was like, that's not going to work for me.
Yeah.
So anyhow, my theory was correct because I tested it in March after it had been raining, and the salts were at a totally normal level.
Interesting.
So I learned don't test during drought season. Maybe it was a coincidence. Maybe I did a faulty test. I don't know, but I just thought maybe that theory was correct. But it said I had a little bit of low nitrogen. Everything else was good. I had really high manganese and pretty high magnesium. And I had absolutely no boron.
Yep, that's pretty common around here.
So really the boron was the only thing. I amended for the boron. I added microbes because I'm really big on microbes, and this is a dry, droughty field. So I added microbes. I added agricultural molasses to go with the microbes. I also added alfalfa pellets, which was new for me to experiment with. I learned that from Blossom and Branch. What else did I do? I also added azomite because it's loaded with minerals, and there's something else that I did, but now I don't remember. I don't know.
Well, let's see. I'm going to go back to okay, so you did your soil amendment based on your own research and what you thought was going on.
What I think. Who knows if that was right?
So then, okay, so what is this picture then? This is, because you've already got your low tunnels, which for those of you who are not familiar with Central Oregon, I've mentioned it many times in previous podcast episodes, but our climate, oh man, it is really ridiculous. Like we're going to have freezes probably tonight and tomorrow, and it's June 20th.
Right?
I mean, come on. So I haven't even planted out anything.
I had hail like 30 minutes ago.
Oh, seriously? Oh,
yeah.
Yeah. It's brutal here.
And today is summer solstice.
Yes.
So happy summer solstice.
Happy summer solstice. And I know I always get a frost around the solstice, so it's right on time this year.
Usually summer solstice is when I have thought everything was safe since I moved here, but I did see tomorrow at 5 a.m. it's going to be 38 degrees, which will be colder for me
too.
And rainy.
Yeah.
Like we might be getting snow.
Yeah. I fully expect to wake up to snow tomorrow. Yeah. Absolutely.
Right?
In my black hole. We did get snow here actually on July 7th. A few years back, maybe, I don't know, maybe that's been 6 or 7 years ago. Yeah. July 7th.
That was before my time, but that's really crazy.
Yeah. It's bizarre. So.
Yep.
All right, so you put your low
So,
tunnels in. So
yeah.
we have to have low tunnels here for those of you who
Yep.
don't have to experience a ridiculous climate like ours. I mean, we have to protect pretty much the whole entire season because we are at a frost risk every day of the year, basically. So.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, so I also forgot to mention I added a ton of compost. That was really
Okay.
important in my amendment
Mhm.
because only 2% organic matter.
Right.
I mean, there's a lot of reasons to add the compost. So I got a giant, it was a truckload and a half of compost
Wow.
that
That's a
I
lot.
loaded by
Oh my
hand
gosh.
into each row. My mom came to visit
Wow.
and she's like, are you Amish now? Where's your machines? And I'm
Yeah.
like, I don't know, Mom. I just want to do it by hand.
Oh my gosh. Well, then you're more intimate with your rows, you know, then you really get to know them up close and personal.
Oh,
so
blood, sweat, and tears went into those
Exactly.
babies. But yeah, these are my rows. They're 50 feet.
Okay.
I actually mowed down the weeds, which I know we're going to talk about later.
yeah.
So it doesn't look as bad as it is. This is probably 24 hours after I mowed them down.
Okay.
And there's my little 8-year-old daughter who's helping me plant in her
Nice.
matching hat with mine. This is just like 3 or 4 days ago. We were transplanting celosia.
Okay.
Which is covered now,
Yeah.
thankfully, since it's probably going to be snowing. But I have enough tunnels to cover every single row.
Awesome.
I don't have the tunnels on the super cold, hardy stuff, especially like the sweet peas, because you couldn't even fit it and they don't need it.
Yeah.
Basically, I planned it so the first 9 rows don't have any covers.
Okay.
Right now. At least. I covered them when I first transplanted because it was 22 degrees in the morning the next day.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
It's so fun.
It's always fun. Yes. That is one of my challenges, fluctuating temperatures. Yeah. And like we had frost this Saturday that just passed, almost a week ago. I think I sent you a picture of one of my Lysianthus that it's just like all sparkling. It looks so beautiful actually when it's covered with frost. Yeah. But this was 7 days ago, and like 5 or 6 days before that, it was 100 degrees.
Yeah.
Makes no sense.
Yeah. These poor plants. I mean, I was just talking to one of our other farmers earlier today because I consider that I live in the land of the miniatures because nothing that I grow, no matter how much water, nutrients, whatever I give it, it never reaches full size here. And it's because I'm cold all the time. Plants basically stop growing under a certain temperature. And I'm always under that temperature at night. So they just don't thrive here. So it's a challenge.
I know.
It really is.
Yeah. And that is one of the reasons I did try so many, like I have like 55 varieties of flowers that I'm growing. And it's because I wanted to see, and I can look at books and I can think I'm book smart and be like, I know exactly what temperature this needs at night. And I'm going to hack it by putting an Agrabah 30 over it and make it warm during the day, whatever. But the reality is a lot of that stuff isn't going to work. So I just got to try it and see.
Right. Because occasionally you'll find something that really does thrive in our ridiculously cold evenings. It does well. And, you know, you have to go with those. So, but you won't know till you try them. So it is good to just, you know, throw everything at it and see what sticks.
This picture is my zinnias.
You've got them out?
Right after I got them out. Yep. Wow. They're under Agrabah 30, I think, because I didn't think they were going to like this 38 degrees. Oh, yeah. And I know that they are prone to powdery mildew and things like that when it's too cold. So, yeah. But I think once we get past this weekend, I think we're smooth. Well, I don't want to jinx it. I think we're smooth sailing, and then everything should really enjoy a little bit of some summer warmth and sun. Let's hope. Yeah. But the average high nighttime temperature is 53 degrees, I think. Yeah. When I looked it up, maybe 52 or 53, which, you know, for things like celosia, it needs to be like 60 degrees at night. So those were probably going to be like this tall and just start blooming because they don't like it. That's
what mine do. I mean, even though I've stopped growing celosia. I used to do it in my tunnels, and it would be, you know, a few inches tall with this ridiculous bloom on the top of it. And I'm like, okay, you guys, I mean, you're out of here. So you are not a team player. This is Team Antarctica.
Yeah.
Okay.
That is one of my challenges is short flowers. I am getting shorter flowers than I hoped. And I had kind of a unrealistic belief that like, oh, well, maybe I can warm them up appropriately. Which is crazy.
Build them
but
little
I just,
campfires
maybe it
out
won't
there.
happen to me.
Yeah, I know. I've been there too. Because I just want long stems on something. I mean, I can get it on dill.
Right.
My dill is like 5 feet tall, but
yeah.
nothing else. I just want like a regular sized flower. I'd be happy with a regular sized flower. So
yeah,
my cafe creme foxgloves. Oh my gosh, they overwintered, and so they're just now blooming, and they literally are like this tall, and they've got the darling. I mean, I should sell them as little miniature because they're so cute. Their little blooms are on there, but I mean, they're ridiculous. So, they're out of here too. So heartbreaking. So, all right. Well, you touched a little bit on some of the challenges that you have encountered. So, we can talk about weeds too in a little bit. But I think this picture, is this your Thrips picture? Because
can you see them there?
Oh yeah, because
that's not even all of them.
I know.
They were crawling back into the snapdragon while I was trying to take the picture. But the Thrips are insane here.
Yes, they are.
And I had a Thrips problem in my strawberries, and I did lose like 120 strawberry plants or something like that. And so I knew Thrips were around. I did magically eradicate them from the strawberry bed. So I also thought, oh, well, maybe I'll have a few Thrips in this field and, it'll be easy to get rid of. But I cannot get rid of them. No. I have tried.
Nope.
I'm sure there's more stuff I need to research to try and get rid of them, but I have tried so many biological controls. Yeah. I did beneficial nematodes in the soil, actually, because I got it for the strawberry beds and I got way too much, and I was like, you know what, I'm just going to do the whole field. Right. I'm going to put beneficial nematodes in the soil in case they're overwintering in the soil. So I started with that, and then as soon as I saw Thrips, which were on my ranunculus, which I basically lost all of because they sucked all the sap out of the outside petals and they got white and patchy, which was so disappointing. Yep. Luckily, I wasn't growing very much because I've never grown ranunculus. I had like 82 corms or something. Okay. So that was just my little test patch. Right. So I'm glad I didn't have more of it. And then I got 10,000 ladybugs. I got hundreds of sachets of, I think you say it, cucumaris. Yep. I also have done 2 rounds of minute pirate bugs. What else did I do? I did lacewings, adults. I did lacewing larvae, which climb out of these little honeycomb things. And then I did lacewing pheromone attractors, which are little packets. And it says to put those like 1 for every half an acre. And I put like 40 of them in my field. Yeah. That's not even, I was like, I'm just going to put them all over and maybe some lacewings will come and eat these Thrips. And still, that picture of those Thrips is like 4 or 5 days ago after I did all of these things. Yeah. And
well, I can give you some information that might make you feel better in some ways, but probably make you feel worse in other ways, because it's something we had a call with a gal at one of the pest, the natural pest, what are they called? They sell like all the little bugs and the nematodes and all that stuff. So we had a Zoom call with her last year, and we were talking about the Thrips, and she explained that anytime they love being in the grasses. So if you've got hay fields anywhere near you, they're going to be completely loaded up with Thrips, and they just are airborne. They just go everywhere. And the only way really to fully control them is in a greenhouse with like this incredible screen stuff where it's all sealed up, where like even the tiny Thrips can't even get through there. It's really hard to control them. You have to learn to coexist with them, is what I have kind of discovered, which is hard because if you grow any of the dark colored flowers, like I did some of the Chocolato ranunculus this year, and they got hammered. They all have Thrips, and so they do so much damage that you can see, those little white specks that you were seeing on that dark red Chocolato color. I mean, no way. They look terrible. So the white ones, I'm sure there was thrip damage on the white ones, but you couldn't see it. So
Yeah.
that's what I had to learn when I used to grow gladiolus, because they are a thrips magnet. Any of the dark colored ones always had those white streaks and just the blemishes. The lighter colored ones you could kind of get away with. I mean, they were still there, but the damage wasn't as obvious. So the thrips are going to be the bane of your existence, most likely. But
oh my gosh,
you'll have to learn to roll with the thrips punches, unfortunately, because you've got hay around you, don't you?
Yeah. Well, this year I'm not doing hay. We're actually getting either pigs or cows that are going to be pasturing on. Frank Miracle, who runs Well Rooted Farms, is a friend and a neighbor, and he has been doing my planting for me with his tractor. And this year he was like, well, what if we tried to pasture some pigs?
Oh, yeah.
He wants to, prove that the concept of pasture-raised pigs is easy to do on other people's land. Wanted us to be the guinea pig. And so I was like, you know what? Sure, let's do it.
Hey, that'll be interesting.
So, yeah. So I don't have hay, but there is, a mixed crop that's out there, whether we do cows or pigs. I think there was clover for the pigs or some other stuff for the cows.
Okay.
So I don't have hay out there, so that will be interesting. But I do have a lot of weeds that I think the thrips really enjoy also.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. Well, let's segue into the weeds then, because that obviously, when you start irrigating, it's a whole new world.
Oh, yeah.
So
you get to see everything that pops up.
There's some more thrips there.
There's some more thrips. They really like the yellow.
Yeah. The jerks.
The yellow snapdragons.
They do. They love the yellow and the white.
Yeah, my snapdragons also, it's so weird because like half of them had really skinny stems and were too short.
Yeah.
And then the other half, all in the same row, all planted the same time within the same group. For snapdragons are like 20 inches tall. And I'm like, what happened to you guys?
Yeah, that's interesting.
Why are you so short? It's another one of my mysteries. The only thing that I could think of so far was I was brainstorming like, well, maybe when I was amending the field, I did it differently. So these are getting different nutrients and I didn't evenly put it within the row. Maybe. That was my only guess. I don't know.
Interesting.
It really doesn't make any sense. The same thing happens with my stalk. So a lot of the stalk is just starting to form buds right now. And like half of them are like this tall.
Yeah.
And the other half are like this tall. Yeah. And I'm like, what? What is going on? I don't know.
Maybe it's a teeny tiny little microclimate within your row, and those guys are staying at 50 degrees, and the other guys are warming up to 53 degrees at night, and
some of the taller ones are kind of in the middle of the row, so maybe they are staying a little bit warmer.
Interesting.
I also have a lot of cutworms. That's another pest that I have found.
Yeah.
In various areas within the field. I just keep finding them. Yeah. So, I mean, who knows what's going on below the roots? Something could be eating them, or maybe there's more thrips on one of them and it's really getting stressed out.
It could be. Well, I know one of our farmers, Amanda, out in Alfalfa, last year, the cutworms were devastating for her. They just were off the charts, and I think she has ended up getting ducks, and I haven't really checked in with her to see if the ducks are taking care of her cutworms this year, so that will be a good question. I need to follow up with her.
Interesting. Well, I also, in part of my great regenerative style farm, was like, I'm gonna put my chickens in the flower field, and I got one of those movable fences, and I was like, I'm just going to move them around to keep them out of the flowers, and I'm going to let them eat all these lovely pests and kick up the weeds and eat the weeds. And it turns out that all of my weeds are extremely toxic to chickens. I have like cheatgrass. The chickens love cheatgrass, so that's okay. But it's flicksweed, it's lamb's quarters, it's summer cypress, which is Mexican fireweed. I did send you a picture, so that might come up later.
Okay, yeah. I'll see if it's
and
in
I'll
here.
show you.
Okay.
And what else? I got horseweed, cheeseweed that just popped up. I don't even know what these are.
I don't know what that is. Wow.
They just all keep showing up out of nowhere at different times.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. Is this one of the weed
that's
pictures?
cheeseweed.
That's cheeseweed. Okay.
Yeah. So I took this picture to talk about my problems. But because these are my dahlias, this is about 5 days after I transplanted them.
Mm-hmm.
So all of those green little spots are weeds that popped up within 5 days of a completely clean and what looked like a weed-free bed that had been silage tarped right before it.
Oh my. Yeah. Okay.
And that's nothing. That's nothing.
I wonder, it's, let me see. Is this one of,
the weed. Oh, yeah.
What is that?
Here's my summer cypress.
Oh.
So
Holy moly.
I didn't realize my feet were in this picture, but where my boots are, that is my row in between where I had cover cropped, silage tarp. Or actually, I didn't silage tarp the rows, but I had cover crops. Those weeds that's about 1 week after I cut and mowed them all the way down. That's how thick they grow in. And that's summer cypress, which is also called Mexican fireweed. I don't know which one's more common. That's what's toxic to chickens, and it is everywhere.
Oh, wow.
And it grows to be like multiple feet high.
Really?
With big roots. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Well,
so isn't that fun?
That's a lot of fun. Well, I'll tell you what I have ended up doing in my rows, or in my pathways between my rows, and I've done this for many, many years, is I use the paper feed bags from my chicken feed, because it's that nice thick paper, and it's just the width of the pathways that I put in my fields. So I put down a layer of these feed bags, and then I put wood chips on top of that. And that pretty much just wipes out any weeds that are in there. I go through my field and will weed, once a week. And I mean, I really, it takes less than 15 minutes to just go through and pull out a few little weeds that pop up, because not much can get through that, because I don't irrigate that. Everything is on drip. So it's not getting any water. And so it's staying dry under those feed bags. And then the wood chips I put pretty thick on there. And so nothing's really coming up through that. So, I mean, you've got a big field. Yeah. That would be a lot of feed bags. But like, I had my neighbor save hers too. So, because we were going to talk, because you mentioned this in your email, and I want to bring this up about the landscape fabric. With the little microplastic. That's exactly why I use the feed bags, because I don't want those little bits. I used those the first go around in my flower farm back in Texas, back in the 90s, before we were really even talking about microplastics. But I don't want that anywhere in my field, even though it does work on the weeds. I just think that the damage that it does in the long term is just far greater than I really want to deal with. So
exactly. I am unfortunately, like, I'm stubbornly against landscape fabric. And it's one of the things that I was sitting here afterwards trying to deal with hours and hours of weeding and mowing and being like, what the heck am I going to do about all of this?
Right.
Those weeds that starved out the plan was for the cover crop to grow, and I was going to cut it down and leave it in place as mulch. Free mulch, great idea, helps heal the soils underneath it at the same time. Lots of reasons for it, but the weeds just completely starved out the cover crop.
Yeah.
So that plan failed. And then I was like, well, what can I do now? And I had to try and come up with different ideas. And for a minute, I was like, oh, I should have done landscape fabric. I get why people do it. It's easy.
Yeah, it's fast. It's instant. Easy. I mean, it's put it down and it's done, basically.
Yeah. I'm not going to break on it yet. And I did, there are different mulches that are made out of paper, or, my original plan in this field was to use Biomulch 360, which is a biodegradable, it's made out of like corn or whatever, on all my rows. Yeah. Because I knew there was going to be weeds.
Right.
I didn't know it was going to be this bad.
Right.
But that was my original plan. And I tried it on the first 4 rows. I covered the edges. The wind was blowing. I ended up trying to staple it even with covering the edges. And the wind just blew them all the way
Wow.
So I had to scrap that plan.
Yeah.
So now I have multiple rolls of Biomulch 360, which maybe I could try in the pathways somehow. But I've also seen the thick paper where you can just buy rolls of it. If I don't have, it's a lot of space for chicken bags. I like that though. My chicken bags are, brown paper, scratch and pack feed.
And they're the perfect width.
But it would be a lot.
Well, get your neighbors to save them. Get everybody to save them. I mean, my neighbor brings over big stacks of them, and I just kind of hoard them until I'm ready to, put some more down. And then once you put those down, actually, I mean, I really don't have to refresh the paper anytime within several years. I just add more wood chips usually once a year just to kind of top it off. Maybe you could get wood chips. They're always dumping wood chips for free. We have mountains.
I signed up for the chip drop.
Oh, good.
I signed up for it like 8 months ago. And I even offered to pay $50 and nobody has delivered them.
Wow. I have a couple of guys that deliver to us pretty regularly. So let me send them a note and see if they are going to, because they do a lot of stuff on the public lands, and see if they're going to be doing anything down your way. And maybe they can, because I found them on Chip Drop, and then we just started, connecting after that because they had so much. I mean, I literally have mountains. We built huge berms around the front of our property with the wood chips, and we don't, I don't like to burn anything. So when we were doing our fire mitigation around here, when we were cutting back all the sagebrush and, the small junipers and stuff, I just did sort of a hugelkultur to build berms. And so we just would put all the trimmings down, and then we had a friend who had horses, and she would bring manure and we'd dump that in, and then we'd put wood chips on top of that. And so just kind of keeping everything sort of organic to build these massive berms. I mean, they're massive. Nobody can see in the front of our property because we've been building for 10 years, and wood chips are a big part of that.
That's great.
Yeah. And they really do help with the weeds, even without the paper bags. If you got enough of the wood chips, you can put 4 to 6 inches down, I mean, it would be wheelbarrowing them out there, but.
Yeah. Which, I mean, part of my struggle is that now that my plan didn't work and I'm mid-season, I mean, I'm just transplanting my last couple rows of flowers in the next, after tomorrow's cold morning, I'll be doing that. It's like, I know I have to fix the issue, but for right now, I'm just mowing these things down until I have the time to manage it somehow, which maybe will be in like 2 weeks, hopefully. But it's, it's funny about mowing these weeds down. It's like pinching a flower, I learned, and they just branch.
They do. They
get bigger roots, and they just go farther and wider, and I'm like, oh no, I just made you bigger.
I know. I think it rejuvenates them, honestly, because, their root just keeps growing, and you've just now, cut off the tops and kind of made like some little fertilizer for them, because that's just going to kind of compost down, and they're just like, oh, yum, I'm going to grow bigger.
You know what's crazy? That picture right there that's still up, that pathway is completely unirrigated.
Really?
I mean, oh yeah, there's probably groundwater that's like draining. But I'd only been watering that bed for, it had been 5 or 6 days because I just transplanted the dahlias.
Oh my gosh.
So yeah, they're frost tolerant. They are drought tolerant. If they were a flower, everyone would want to grow them because you can't kill them.
And they thrive here, so maybe we need to go and figure it out if that's something that we can turn into a cut flower to sell.
Oh yeah, like there was times my husband and my daughter came out to the field, and I had something that wasn't planted. I tried to put a silage tarp over a prepped bed so that weeds wouldn't come up while it was waiting for flowers. And there was a few that I didn't, or they blew off in the wind or what have you. And my husband and my daughter come out and they're like, what flower is this? And I'm like, that's not a flower. That whole row is just weeds.
Oh gosh.
Yeah.
It's so fun.
So fun.
So, all right. So so your pathways then, you really could just keep those mowed, I guess, in the short term.
Yeah.
You've got
What's weird is the weeds grow differently. Like those are that's my first 5 rows. It's like sweet peas and dianthus and what else is in there? I think that's bachelor buttons. I have what else do I have in there? I don't know, a bunch of cool flowers. But what happens to grow right there is a lot of cheatgrass. So when you mow it, it really does look like cheatgrass. It resprouts.
Yeah.
And I'm very diligent about cutting it down before it drops that seed.
Yep.
Like that's the most important thing
is.
to keep it managed. So it almost looks like grass. And it kind of makes a little bit of mulch. Like you can see that there's like dried yellow. Some of that was a little bit of the cover crop that grew. And I did actually mulch it and leave it there. And some of it is just wheatgrass that I cut or cheatgrass and let it sit there.
Wow.
But then the rows at the end are all summer cypress. And then in the middle, they're all tumbleweeds that are just, it's very strange. And I think it's because I tilled. I think when I tilled it, I just picked up all those seeds that were
woke
just
everybody
marinating
up.
in the soil from 50 years ago.
Yes.
And I just spread them all around.
They were like, finally, we get to come to life.
Got some water near them, and it was great.
Well, this next little picture are those killdeer or what are those?
Yeah. Those are killdeer eggs in my Lysianthus row.
Oh my gosh. That's precious.
Yeah, I just went out there and saw them a couple weeks ago. Well, they haven't hatched yet. Maybe it's been 2 weeks or so. And it's fun. I mean, I kind of love it. I want a big ecosystem. That's, kind of the ultimate goal.
Right.
But the challenge is I really need to feed the Lysianthus and I don't want to spray anywhere. I don't want to, I'm not spraying anything bad. I'm spraying like fish fertilizer, but I just don't want to spray. So I haven't been feeding them in that area at all. I left that half of the row and she just wants to chirp and bob and run around every time I'm out there. And I saw her, I have my flower netting, which I used as a planting guide, which is probably one of my regrets because now I have them just resting, all prepped to just be pulled up as the flowers grow.
Right.
But I've seen her in other rows where I have the netting and she kind of got stuck in it while she was getting mad at me and saying like, hey, those are my babies.
Oh gosh.
So I don't know what to do about that, but she's right there in the middle of a whole 50-foot row of Lysianthus.
Oh my gosh. And you can't really call her a pest, unfortunately, but
no. And hopefully she eats some of the bugs. I don't know exactly what they eat, but I'm sure they eat like spiders and some sort of bugs that are out there.
Well, and they're babies. They've got to eat something. So, well, I'm going to keep my fingers crossed that she's going to eat some of your bugs.
Yeah.
Oh gosh. So yeah, you've got pretty much all of the things. And that's like with pests, with weeds, diseases. Have you had any issues with diseases showing up?
I have not. I've been very diligent. I even every time I transplanted, I dipped my little soil blocks in microbes or compost tea. I think I've been pretty diligent about keeping out diseases and viruses. I haven't noticed any yet.
Good.
I did almost kill all of my sweet peas, but that's because I was overwatering them.
Oh yeah.
Which I didn't realize at all. Now they're back and up and running. I turned off the water on those irrigation pipes. Or drip lines, and now they're going good. But that's the only thing that really, there was a while there where everything was looking a little funky, and I was like, why is everything turning yellow? I'm gonna kill the whole entire field. And I think it was overwatering because I've got all that soil with compost on top, and the compost is pretty hydrophobic, so it looks like it's dry on top.
Right.
I mixed it in and tilted it like a little bit with this little hand tilter thing. And it if you dig down, it's nice and wet underneath, but you got to go this much. So I backed off on the watering, and that totally healed them.
Yeah, that's a good tip really for people to, don't just look at the surface, because there are so many different, especially the urban waste compost that is incredibly hydrophobic, at least where we are. And if you're going by just what it looks like on the surface, then it's so easy to just keep the water going because you're thinking, oh gosh, I've got to get this wet. So
I did get municipal compost too. It was way cheaper. It was so much cheaper.
Yeah.
And for how much I got, it was way more affordable. And I called, just because, I like information, I called the manager of the compost facility, and I talked to him forever about the compost. And then I decided, like, okay, this is pretty good compost, because they do a bioassay test on it to actually test how things germinate and grow in it.
Okay.
And he was willing to send me all of the stats of the compost. So I got to see all the nutrient profile,
great.
the bioassay test, which was 100% germination. And it was like cucumbers, which are actually like not quite as easy as some other things to germinate.
Interesting.
And he was so nice too. He was like, if you want to bring some flower friends for a tour, you can come.
I love that.
So Lisa, if you want to go for a tour,
we should go do a field trip, because I love that kind of stuff. I am a total data nerd, and I want to know how things work, and I want to know why things are the way they are. So we should do that.
Troy said he would show us the whole compost facility.
Okay. I'm going to get on that, because I think it would be really interesting. Okay, well then that kind of talks about your big pest and weed issue. So, which makes me kind of want to ask the question, have you gotten yet to a place where you want to throw in the towel? Or, like you said in your email, burn the field down?
Yes. Literally burn it down.
So you've probably danced around that a little bit. What have you done to sort of help ease your mind, or to change direction, or how have you approached that whole emotional distress aspect of this?
That's a good question. It's definitely been a roller coaster. And I think I had this idea in my mind of like, and I will admit to how naive and pompous I was about it, that I was like, oh, I love research. I love data. I'm going to do all these things and it's going to be great. Like, it's not going to happen to me. I have pests. I have extreme winds. I have temperature fluctuations. I have, I've had irrigation problems. Like, anything that could have happened somehow happened to me.
Wow.
So, especially the short stems. Yeah. And that's the hardest thing to get over.
It is.
That is the hardest thing. Because I am glad it's not just me.
Not.
But
definitely not.
Gonna have to figure that out, or figure out which varieties will not have that issue and continue to grow those. I have not thrown in the towel. I will not be throwing in the towel. I am fully committed.
Yay.
But I think it's about every 7 days when I decide I'm going to burn the field down. And I think it's because I haven't mowed all those weeds in 7 days. And not only mowing, but they grow in between the flowers. Like even the Lysianthus row, which I have 8 planted per square foot. That's pretty decent. I still have a ton of weeds growing between them and under the leaves and out of the sides. And like, so at first I got overwhelmed. And then one day I did rage weeding. And that's great. Yeah. Okay. Oh, yeah. Rage weeding. When I'm angry and I went out there and I hand plucked from every single one of those rows, all of the weeds. And then I went, and I felt better. Yeah. I didn't want to burn it down. Yep. But yeah, the weeds, the pests, I mean, all of those, they do make me want to literally burn the field down to make it my choice. Yeah. Instead of Mother Nature.
Right.
But other than that, I just have to keep on trucking. Like right now is the hardest time because I put in so much work. Yeah. And it's the shoulder season. So like right before everything blooms. Yeah. So you put all the work forward, but you don't have the return yet. Right. I'm getting a little bit of return, but they're covered in thrips, which is hard. I know. But I'm still going, and I'm definitely going to keep going. I think I'm going to make a lot of adjustments next year to solve some of these problems and get ahead of them.
Okay, well, that's a good question then to bring up is like, what have you, I mean, you've had a lot of lessons. What have you learned that you already know you're going to change for next year or pivot from or whatever? Do you already have plans to change some things?
I mean, first and foremost, I need to do one of two things. Either I'm going to move to a different field because I have, 16 acres that have been planted for like 40 or 50 years. There is weed pressure out there. I see it every, April. There was one year we didn't plant anything. So I really got to see what would come up if we didn't plant a winter cover crop. Yeah. It's nothing like this field. Nothing at all like this field. This field is insane. The weed field that I decided to grow flowers in, which is great. So I might move fields. I have some long-term, very far in the future dreams to be able to have different U-cuts and things. And I have a really nice field in the front. It's got its own driveway that circles around and a shed. So I have a picture in my mind. It's going to move there in the future for sure. And you can see the mountains from right there, and it's off Klein Falls Highway, so it's good access. So I have plans for that in the future. That won't be for a while, but if I can't find a way to manage the weeds now, I'm probably going to move to that part of that field, half of it, next year, which is a lot of work after.
It is, definitely.
But, I don't know. I think it's better than so many thrips and so many weeds. I'm going to have thrips forever, you said, but that field is just, I don't know. It was a bad choice. It's one of my regrets.
Well, maybe if you move to a different field that will be less weed pressure. I mean, it sounds like you got hit and hammered really hard with all the things in this field. So if you can maybe take a couple of those things out of the equation, and so you're going to deal with thrips, and you just keep doing what you can do about the thrips. But if you don't have the same amount of weed pressure, maybe that will make it easier to manage.
Exactly.
So,
or I'll try different mulching ideas. Maybe I will use wood chips once I have some time, or use some paper mulch, or find something to manage it now. And if it works, then maybe I'll leave it there for now because it's smaller scale. I've got my irrigation all done.
Right.
I am also, one of the challenges, I think, of my irrigation, which I've kind of got it down now, is that not a lot of people use, at least that I know, use agriculture irrigation. So my entire drip line setup is coming out of one of those 4-inch wide pasture valves that uses those big wheel lines.
Oh, gosh.
So because I like to do everything the hard way, I was like, I'm going to use my irrigation for this.
Wow.
I added a PVC pipe that comes out of the irrigation pipes and out of one of the valves, so that as long as my pump is on, I just turn a little knob and it brings water to the field. And then I have a really large filter that's set up for a 2-inch flat lay, flat lay, whatever those pipes are called. It's like a flexible pipe that goes all the way down, and I have all my drip tubes coming out of it. But it is very powerful.
I bet.
Very powerful.
Oh, yeah.
Even though I have a regulator. I have a pressure regulator on it. But I've got plenty of challenges from that. But I'm using my irrigation for the flowers.
Well, then that really, because my next question was going to be, tell me about something that's a big win for you, so that it's not all bad and it's not all negative. So,
I do have a win. I do have a kind of a big win because I have only grown one variety of the flowers that I grew out of like 55 some. And I did good.
Yay.
Okay. Everything germinated. It all grew so fantastic in my soil blocks that I am proud of myself for that. But that's my favorite part is like growing things and watching them go from a little seed to like, it's just so rewarding. So somehow I did something right in growing a bunch of varieties that I've never grown before, and got them all to germinate.
Well,
but I'm kind of
is amazing.
I'm like a data nerd. So I had 3 different room temperatures for all my germination stations. And I have a chart that says what temperature you germinate each and every seed at. So that might have helped my success.
That's amazing, because that is where a lot of people struggle, I think, with germination, because everything is so different, and they all need different, light or no light, and temperatures that are, all over the place. So, I mean, that is a huge win. If you can nail that, I mean, the other stuff that's going to be easy to get that stuff dialed in, because that's a big one.
It's just once I put them in the field when I have the problems.
I know, if you could just continue to grow them in their little blocks for their entire life, then life would be good.
Maybe I'll get a high tunnel or a greenhouse in the future, and it will kind of help that.
Yeah. Well, so we're going to wrap up a little bit with asking what advice you would give someone who is either first-year flower farmer or who's thinking about going into flower farming. And so I want to end on the advice stuff, but I also want to say for everyone to check back in with us the end of the season. And we may have lost Charisse. Are you still there? Oh, we may have lost her. Check back in at the end of the season, because we're going to reconnect with her and we're going to see how the season went for her. She's going to be selling flowers through the collective this year. And so she's had a lot of trials and tribulations to start with. And I want to see how the season wraps up for her. So we will be checking back in with her probably sometime, maybe September, October. It depends on our frosts. I get usually like the end of August, I get a frost, and she's kind of in a black hole, it sounds like I am. So we will check back in and just see how it went. So it looks like we lost Charisse, but that was okay timing, because we pretty much had wrapped everything up. So I wanted to say thank you for everyone who continues to tune into our little podcast. It's been so much fun to do these. And I think we're going to shift a little bit this summer and maybe start doing some farm tours of some of our farmers, because we have some really amazing growers and some really beautiful places that I think it might be fun for everyone to see. So I think this may be the last one of our kind of one-on-one conversations, and we may shift over into just farm tours for a while on the YouTube channel. So again, thank you everyone for tuning in. And if you enjoyed this conversation with Charisse, we'd love it if you'd hit that little like button down below there and subscribe to the channel if you find any of our podcast topics of interest. It really does help our channel. And I think, thank you so much for spending a little bit of your day with us. So, all right, I'm going to wrap it up now, and I will see you guys hopefully in a couple of weeks. Thanks again. Bye-bye.